Hello everyone, I'm your hostess with the mostest, 8-Second Gaming. In today's video, we are going to be talking about the 3 main playstyles for ranked and how to pick which one is best for you. In order to climb most effectively, you need a playstyle that works for you, so let's break them all down. But just quickly, if you guys are looking to get your skill to the next level, then you need to check out the GameLeap website right now. Over there, we have top level coaches, including myself, creating the best, most highly informative guides to make you the best player you could possibly be. We have legend guide, gun guides, VOD reviews, and much more, covering every single situation you can find yourself in. So click the link in the description, pick yourself up a membership, and start to improve today. But okay, with that out of the way, let's hop into things. And yes, there are 3 main playstyles when it does come to ranked. There's Edge, Zone, and Hybrid. So let's kick things off by talking about the Edge playstyle, because this one's a little bit more aggressive and a lot of people like to be aggressive. With an Edge playstyle, you are playing on the edge of Zone. You're rotating in as the zone closes and looking for fights on the outskirts of the zone. You're looking for other teams that might have rotated a little bit late. You're looking to gatekeep some people. You're even looking to third party potentially, but you're looking for isolated 3v3 fights most of the time. These 3v3 isolated fights are going to offer opportunities for you to take people out of the game in a much cleaner situation. Now, Edge teams have to be confident in fights, because if you're not confident in those fights and you can't end them quickly, then they are more prone to being third partied. Other Edge teams are going to be looking for fights, so if you happen to get into a fight and you cannot end it very quickly, then another one of those teams is going to roll up on you and start to third party you. And that is one of the biggest risks that goes into the Edge playstyle. You are risking placement points in favor of getting more kills. And kills can rack up your RP very quickly if you can do it effectively enough. Now, with that being said, an Edge team comp also has to be highly aggressive. You need characters and legends that fit that playstyle to help you in those fights. You cannot have characters that want to play in the middle of zone. You need characters that will help you in these fighting situations. So a highly aggressive Edge team comp is something like a Bangalore, a Revenant, and a Conduit. Bangalore is your entry fragger. Her smokes allow you to play with line of sight. She can be super aggressive. She can get in and out. She does everything that an entry fragger needs to do in these highly aggressive situations. Then you have Revenant, a highly aggressive off-angling secondary fragger. Likes to look for opportunities to jump in, and when he does jump in, he has that overshield from his ultimate that makes him super hard to actually take down. With this overshield, it makes him a lot more aggressive, and he can stay in those fights for a longer period of time, allowing him to wipe fights a lot faster. If you don't have to stop to heal after taking 75 damage, then you are going to be a lot more aggressive than other legends. And then you have Conduit rounding off the support side of things. Conduit is allowing a lot more of an aggressive support role playstyle. She likes to be close to her teammates in order for her to activate that tactical, and she's actually doing very well in the current meta. And when you have a Conduit and a Revenant paired together, it makes Rev basically a raid boss, because no matter what happens, he just doesn't lose his shield. You take his overshield off, that's cool, he still has his regular shield. You take that shield off, cool, Conduit can now heal him up, and now he has even more shield. It's just ridiculous. But that is the type of synergy that you want in these Edge comps, because you're going to be fighting a lot, you're going to be aggressive, you want to wipe fights fast, and these types of comps do it perfectly well. Now that you know what an Edge comp is basically about though, let's talk about the pros and the cons of it. First off, for the pros, it's a lot more of an exciting gameplay. You're going to be fighting a lot more often, you're going to be getting into skirmishes, you're going to be getting into scuffles, you're not sitting in a building waiting for the zone to close, so yes, it's a lot more exciting. Another pro is you get a lot more kill points potentially. Kill points go hand in hand with placement points. If you get a lot of kill points on top of a lot of placement points, you're going to be climbing a lot faster. And if you have a skill rating that's a lot higher than your current rank, getting these kills is going to help you climb even faster. Another pro is it's a lot simpler of a gameplay plan, because you don't have to read zones, you don't have to figure out rotations, you don't really have to do a lot of thinking, you just have to listen for gunshots, run to those, maybe even potentially run into another team and fight them. There's not as much planning, there's not as much thinking that goes into it, so people that don't want to learn how ring pull, stuff like that, this is a good playstyle for you. But on the flip side of the pros, we have the cons. And the first con is it's a very risky playstyle. You are wagering your placement points in favor for kill points. So if you don't get those kill points and you die in the first fight, you are losing a lot of points. And if that happens over and over and over, you are going to be losing a ton of points, keeping you in that rank for a very long time. It's a gamble, there's risk and reward, but yeah, it is very risky. Next con is this current meta doesn't really favor Edge as much as in the past. Placement points are weighted a little bit heavier when it comes to actual points. Before, you could climb just based off your kill points alone, but right now, placement points points have a very big weighting in actually how much you are going to climb. So if you're playing edge and you don't place like top 10, but you still get a lot of kills, you're not really going to be getting any points off that because the placement hasn't kicked in quite yet. Even though you are playing edge, there still has to be a balance between those placement points, so there is a little bit of risk factor in that as well. And the third con is that it is not as consistent as a zone style of play. Again, placement points are just king when it comes to grinding right now. And if you're looking to climb consistently, you should be looking to play zone and not edge, because edge, you're going to be throwing the dice a lot of the times. And you might win a game here playing edge, but then you might lose a couple games and you just offset that entire gaining period that you had. Consistency is key for when you're actually wanting to reach high ranks, so with a non-consistent playstyle, it might not be the best option. But that is the edge playstyle covered, so let's move into zone. And zone is just literally the exact opposite of edge. You are looking to figure out where the ring is going to pull. You want to figure out where the endgame situation is going to be, and you want to get there as soon as you possibly can. Either by running, taking balloons, taking evac towers, anything like that, but you want to get there, you want to set up, you want to defend your building, and you want to wait for that end game time. And by getting a very strong building in those situations, you can easily rack up a ton of placement points. Other teams might have been an edge team or a team that didn't really figure out where the zone was going to be pulling as well as you did, that don't get a solid spot, are going to be panicking when they have to move into the zone, and they're going to be throwing themselves at other teams. Hopefully not you, because you're defending your position well enough. And when they throw themselves at teams, it's going to mean that people are dying and you are getting more placement. And if you're able to effectively and consistently read zones, getting your team in a solid position every single time, you should be able to get top 5 most of the time. There are going to be some outliers where you die on rotation, or a team throws into you and you die that way, or other things can go wrong, but as long as you are able to get to those endgame positions and defend your building effectively, then you should be getting free top 5 placements all of the time. Now that does sound good to a lot of people, but playing zone is a lot easier said than done. Being able to get you and your team effectively to a position is actually a lot more trickier when you are getting into games. Most of the time, teams are not going to let you rotate for free. If someone sees you running through the open field, they're more than likely going to shoot you. And if they crack you, do some decent damage to you, they're probably going to chase you down. Rotating to zone can be very risky because a lot of people are out for blood. They want to kill you. And other times, teams see that you have a very solid spot in zone and they want to take it from you, so they will try their best to do that. And you might be able to fend them off, but if they bring a third party, a fourth party, a fifth party, it's going to be harder and harder to defend yourself. And if explosions are going off, stuff like that, they might blow your doors off, make your position even worse because it's harder to defend now. There's a lot of things that can go into it. So zone does have its own risk factors involved, but each legend on a zone team comp is designed to either help you get to a spot safer or hold that spot in general. And an example of a zone team comp is Wraith, Crypto, and Caustic. Now Wraith is just the staple entry fragger when it comes to zone playstyle. She can get your team from point A to point B extremely safely, and in those endgame situations where everybody's panicking, a Wraith portal is absolutely key at getting a new position. Wraith can get to a spot very safely, very effectively with her phase, and with her portal, her teammates can get there too. And when it comes to scouting out their location, that's why you have Crypto. Crypto loves to sit in a building on his drone scouting out locations. If you need to move, Crypto can just send his drone and not risk himself and see if a spot is free. If it is free, Wraith instantly pops her portal, takes it, and your team has a new position to play with nobody risking themselves for it. And Crypto did get a silent buff going into Season 19 with the new respawn mechanic. With your teammates coming down with their old armor and guns, Crypto can res them for free with his drone and make it so that they're not just sitting ducks as soon as they come out of the dropship. And when it comes to protecting everybody in those situations, Caustic is absolutely goated at that. With his barrels and proper rotation of them, it makes it virtually impossible to actually push into a Caustic's building. Enemy teams that try to are going to be taking a lot of damage in doing so. And when it comes to endgame situations, Caustic can throw his barrels without having to put himself in the line of danger, and his gas grenade does wombo combo extremely well with Crypto EMP in the endgame. If there's anything like a Watson generator, Gibraltar bubble, anything like that, Crypto EMP will take it out, and then Caustic can throw his grenade for free and tick a lot of people with it. Edge team comps highly synergize in being aggressive, zone team comps highly synergize in being turtley. But just like Edge, there are some pros and cons for these ones, so let's start with the pros. First off, it's consistent. I mentioned this in the Edge one, but yes, zone is a lot more of a consistent playstyle because you're going to be getting placement points a lot more often. Like I said, in theory, you should be placing top 5 almost every single game. Easier said than done, yes, I understand that, but you still should be placing relatively high if you are playing zone effectively. Those placement points will give you a lot more of a consistent grind. Next, it is a little bit more of a relaxed playstyle. For the majority of the game, you're not really going to be doing a whole lot. You land, you loot up, you run to the endgame position, and you wait until the endgame. Now, the last 10% of the game is very hectic because you actually have to be paying attention. If there's a lot of teams alive, then there's going to be a lot of stuff going on. So yes, that last 10% can be absolutely chaotic. But it's not like Edge where you're fighting constantly, so you do have a little bit of downtime. And those are really the only pros that are worth mentioning. I know it does seem a little bit weird that there's only 2 pros, but really the consistency is the main thing that does come with this playstyle. But yes, on the flip side, there are some cons. Let's talk about those. And one of the biggest things that does drive people away from this is it's a very boring playstyle to most. You are sitting in a building for the majority of the game. You are going to be poking, doing a little bit of stuff like that, and then in the end game situations, it's going to be very hectic, so that is a lot of fun. But some people don't like the fact that you are going to be sitting in the same building for the majority of the game. They find that to be very boring and they don't want to do that. It is a main drawback. Next con is you are not going to be getting as many kill points. It is possible to get a ton of kills while still playing zone because those end game situations, you could just be killing a bunch of people, but there are going to be other games where you die with a high placement but not a lot of kills or potentially even no kills. And if you have no kills, it's not going to be helping your grind nearly as much as something like an Edge team would they be getting a ton of kills. Just like Edge teams risk their placement to get more kills, you're risking taking less kills to get higher placement. There's a push and a pull, a yin and a yang for every playstyle. And the last con is that you actually need to stick to this game plan very heavily. If your team kind of butterflies or gets distracted easily and you don't rotate as fast, you don't get an endgame position as easily, or anything like that, you can be shut out very easily. Your team cannot get distracted from their actual goal. So if your team is very ADHD and kind of trails off, this is not the playstyle for you. You need to get that endgame position, you need to get that building, you need to lock it down. This team comp is good in those endgame situations for fighting, but if you get locked down by an Edge team comp that's a little bit more aggressive, you are probably going to lose that fight. But that's zone covered, so let's move into hybrid now. And out of the 3, hybrid is the simplest. It's literally you do whatever you want to do. If zone pulls you and you happen to be in the middle of zone, you are more than happy to play an endgame position there. But if you land on the edge of the map and you want to play Edge, you can play Edge as well. It's a very go with the flow type of playstyle, and it's what a lot of people default to because they don't really have a game plan in mind, so they just kind of go hybrid. Now, hybrid is extremely simple when you just kind of break it down into its base terms. And because of its simplicity, you can actually run whatever legend team comp that you want to run on it, given that you cover all 3 roles. It offers a lot more flexibility for a lot of people, and that's why it's a little bit more desirable for some. Some players don't want to go in with a game plan in mind. They want to just kind of relax and enjoy the game, and that's why they like the hybrid playstyle. Now, there is a team comp that I do recommend you play, and that is Horizon Loba Newcastle, because this team comp is highly specialized at the hybrid playstyle. Every single one of these legends can play Edge or Zone effectively. Now again, you can swap and mix and match legends or not even play this team comp at all, and you will still be able to do the hybrid perfectly fine. But this was just a little bit tailored towards the hybrid playstyle a little bit more. Now, just like the other 2, there are pros and cons to this one. And the first pro is basically just the one that I've been talking about this entire time. It's more flexible and it's easier to do. You don't have to have a game plan. You don't really have to have anything in mind. You just kind of hop into a game, do whatever you want, and climb. Potentially, maybe, I don't know. The next pro is it doesn't lock people into playing certain legends. Some people like to bounce around from legend to legend. They don't like to have a main. They don't want to be locked into playing the same one every game. They like to have options. And hybrid does that very easily because it doesn't matter what you really play. You can kind of do whatever. It's a little bit more appealing to some people. And another pro is that because you have so much flexibility, you can still be pretty consistent because you can change your game plan on the fly and still be fine. If you get into your promos and you need to win a game or something, that's cool. You can just play zone. But if you guys are having a good time relaxing when you want to get into some more fights, then you can just land Edge and just get into more fights. But with the pros come the cons. And the first con that we got to break down is that you have no game plan. Now that is a pro at the same time because it's a little bit more freeing, but it's also a con at the same time because you don't really have an idea of what you're going to be doing. It can lead to some confusion, it can lead to some miscomms, it can lead to some people not being on the same page, and that can cause a lot of issues in a game. With the Edge and Zone playstyles, you know exactly what you're going to be doing every single game, so people aren't confused. But with hybrid, if everybody's not on the same page, you guys might not really understand what you're doing, and it can lead to some confusion in fights, and confusion leads to you losing. Now, the next con is your legends might not fit the hybrid playstyle as well as some other ones. Now, yes, I did say that you could use pretty much every single legend, and that is true, but some legends do better in certain situations than others. Like, for example, Fuse is not a good zone legend. He doesn't really fit that playstyle. He doesn't offer anything to the zone playstyle. So if you pick him up in a hybrid comp and then you start to play zone, he's not going to be doing as much for the team as other legends could be doing. Now, just a disclaimer, yes, Fuse can still work in zone team comps, but he's not as good as some others. That's the point that I'm trying to make here. But let me know your favorite playstyle in the comments down below. And if you guys want to stay up to date with the latest, greatest, Apex Legends, tips, tricks, and news, don't forget to smash that like and subscribe button. Thanks all for watching once again to Mates Game, and I'll see you guys in the next one.